You use this thing every single day, but you have no idea how insane its history is. It's the most private room in your house, your personal throne. But what if I told you this simple toilet has a secret history that is shockingly deadly? Imagine having to share your toilet with 50 other people at the same time. I'm not kidding. And when you were done, you had to clean yourself with a sponge on a stick that everyone shared. It's disgusting. For most of history, just going to the bathroom was a life-threatening move that destroyed entire cities and spread plagues. This is the insane story of humanity's disgusting, centuries-long war against its own filth, and how a forgotten royal luxury and a crisis of unbelievable stink finally gave us the modern toilet.
You will not believe this, but the basic idea of a flush toilet is literally thousands of years old. Archaeologists in Scotland found toilets inside stone huts that are 5,000 years old. That's insane. The Palace of Knossos in Crete had toilets that flushed with water 4,000 years ago. It seems like humanity has always been trying to solve this one problem. But the Romans took it to a whole other level. By 315 AD, Rome had 144 public toilets. But these weren't private stalls like we have. Oh no, they were basically social clubs. Romans would sit side by side on long marble benches, closing business deals while doing their business. But this is where it gets crazy. There was no toilet paper. Instead, they used something called a xylospongium, a sponge on a stick, and yes, it was communal. After you used it, you'd rinse it in some salt water or vinegar and just leave it for the next person. This is so gross, some people think it's where we get the phrase, getting the wrong end of the stick. And even though the Romans had incredible aqueducts, they had zero idea what germs were. These shared sponges were the perfect way to spread deadly diseases like typhoid and cholera. On the outside, it looked advanced, but it was actually a death trap.
And then the Roman Empire collapsed, and everything got a million times worse. I'm talking about a giant leap backward in sanitation. The Middle Ages were unbelievably disgusting. In medieval cities, going to the bathroom became a private and super messy problem. Most people just used a pot, and when it was full, they literally just threw it out the window onto the street below. In France, people would just scream, "God low," which means watch out for the water, and let it fly. Some people think that's how the toilet got the nickname the loo. If you were lucky enough to live in a castle, you got a garderobe. It was just a stone seat with a hole in the floor that jutted out from the castle wall, dropping straight down into the moat or a pit. And this is crazy. They called it a garderobe, meaning wardrobe, because people would hang their clothes in the toilet shaft. The ammonia fumes from the pee would actually kill all the fleas in their robes. For regular people, it was even worse. Entire streets shared one overflowing outhouse. Waste piled up everywhere. Rivers like the Thames and London became open sewers. The air had a permanent stench, and the water was a breeding ground for death. Life was short, and a huge reason why was that people were literally living in their own filth.
For centuries, the world was disgusting. But then, one guy had an incredible genius idea, and the world completely ignored him. This guy, Sir John Harington, godson to Queen Elizabeth I, invented the very first mechanical flushing toilet in 1596. He called it the Ajax, which was a play on Ajax, slang for a toilet. It had all the parts, a tank of water, a pipe, and a flush valve. It used a crazy 7.5 gallons of water per flush, but Harington said you could flush it 20 times before refilling the tank. He built one for himself and one for the Queen, and she absolutely loved it. This should have changed the world, right? Wrong. Harington made a huge mistake. He wrote a book about his invention, but he filled it with so many jokes that it offended everyone in the royal court, and they banished him. His amazing invention was completely forgotten for the next 200 years, all because he wasn't ready to be serious. So the world stayed smelly until 1775, when a watchmaker named Alexander Cumming had an idea that changed everything. Cumming didn't reinvent the toilet, but he added one brilliant piece that made it all work: the S-trap. You have this under your toilet and sink right now. The genius is how simple it is. That curve in the pipe holds a little bit of water, creating a seal. And that seal does one incredibly important job. It stops all the toxic, disgusting, and disease-filled sewer gas from coming back into your house. Harrington's toilet didn't have this, which was a massive flaw. The S-trap was the missing piece that finally made an indoor toilet safe. After this patent, innovation exploded. In 1778, Joseph Bramah made a better flush valve. Then, in the 19th century, a potter named Thomas Twyford created the first one-piece ceramic toilet, which was way more hygienic. The modern toilet was finally happening. But even with all these new inventions, toilets were only for super rich people. It took an insane crisis to make them available for everyone. And that crisis hit London in the summer of 1858. It was called the Great Stink. By the mid-1800s, London was the biggest city on Earth, and it dumped all of its waste, human waste, dead animals, chemicals, directly into the River Thames. The problem? The Thames was also their main source of drinking water. It was a thick, brown, toxic sludge. Cholera had already killed tens of thousands. Then, in the summer of 1858, a massive heat wave hit. The river level dropped, exposing literal mountains of raw sewage that just baked in the sun. The smell was so unbelievably bad, it shut down the entire city. I am not exaggerating. Parliament, whose new building was right on the river, could barely function. They soaked their curtains in chemicals to mask the smell, but it didn't work. Finally, they were forced to do something. Terrified the miasma would kill them, Parliament passed a bill in a record 18 days to build a modern sewer system. An engineer named Joseph Bazalgette built a masterpiece that London still uses today. Paired with a law from 1848 requiring new houses to have a toilet, the Great Stink was so disgusting it literally forced the modern toilet to go mainstream.
Okay, we have to talk about this guy. Thomas Crapper. His name is literally Crapper. And let's get this straight. He did not invent the flush toilet. That is a total myth. Probably because American soldiers saw his company's name on toilets in England during World War I. But what he did do was just as important. He was a master plumber and an absolute marketing genius. In an era when you couldn't even talk about bodily functions, Thomas Crapper did something crazy. In 1870, he opened the world's first bathroom showroom. He put his shiny new toilets, sinks, and tubs in a giant window display for everyone to see. So, from shared Roman sponges and disgusting medieval cities to a forgotten invention and a stink that stopped an entire city, the journey to your toilet was insane, disgusting, and deadly. It took almost 300 years from its invention for it to become common, and toilet paper wasn't even widely sold until the 1900s. I'm being serious. This device might be the single greatest life-saving invention in history. It stopped diseases like cholera and typhoid that killed millions of people. It completely transformed our cities, our health, and gave us a level of privacy and dignity our ancestors couldn't even imagine. So the next time you step into your clean, private bathroom, take a second to appreciate this unsung hero. It's more than just a toilet. It's a symbol of a centuries-long, desperate battle that thankfully we finally won.
If you think this secret history is as crazy as I do, smash that like button and subscribe right now so you don't miss the next video. And let me know in the comments, what other everyday item has a dark history you want me to investigate next?